Yeah, just press record. Let's talk frickin' Orlando Magic, baby. I had to really rack my brain and think about what teams I haven't talked about yet for this off season. And maybe, probably not a surprise, Orlando has yet to come up. I feel like Orlando, despite not ever, since like the Dwight Howard weird finals year, and even as long as Dwight was there, they were pretty competitive. And then they've had this stretch now where just crazily mediocre for I don't know, maybe the most part of a decade. It seems like it feels like, but they basically kind of they've pulled the plug on that kind of that core, the Vucevic trade now. So they bring in R.J. Hampton, Gary Harris, 2 firsts, and Gary Harris now is on an expiring. He's like $20 million, which is one of those contracts that could look real good if you're trying to match salaries for a star. And if not, then he expires and you got some cap space. Now Orlando obviously not a top tier free agency destination, so cap space probably doesn't mean a lot to them. And they've extended some of their guys, so that cap space, probably if I'm them, I should look for maybe a trade. And I think some people have mentioned, Magic, make a lot of sense for Ben Simmons potentially if they really felt like they could, try and build around him. Given that they just got, still have Cole Anthony there and then Jalen Suggs, I don't know. Maybe Ben Simmons has the size. You technically could play, your 4. And we could see how that works. I don't know. And they also bring in Franz Wagner. And they also have his brother Mo. I don't know if I remember that or not. They have both Wagners. So they got 2 top 10 picks. And then Cole Anthony was a mid-first. Hopefully you get Markelle and Jonathan Isaac healthy. Jury's still out really on both of them. Markelle looked good at the beginning of the season. I think if he can return to some form of that, it's another point guard. It's kind of crowded backcourt really, and you have R.J. Hampton is in the backcourt. Gary Harris is in the backcourt. He's probably a little more size. Now I think about it, now I'm going through the roster in my head. So maybe you look for the next big man to become available, and that's where you move that Gary Harris contract. Because they've extended Isaac, they extended Fultz last season. Both, Isaac was never going to come back, but Fultz gets hurt. So, I don't know. I think Orlando, it was time. And they got, I think, a pretty good haul for Vucevic. And depending on how you feel about the Chicago Bulls and what their kind of trajectory is, those first could be interesting. But if you think the Bulls are going to be, a really good team, it's kind of tough. The Magic are going to have to evaluate this. I'd say the Bulls, floor is probably 10, maybe 11. So that's you're looking at the 10th pick in the draft, something like that. Best case scenario for, one of those picks. Over the next, I don't know the exact years for the picks. I'm assuming it's in the next couple years. So you could argue that those picks are worth the most in the off season before we see what the Bulls even look like. You might find a team that thinks the Bulls are going to suck, and then you kind of will screw them out and get, end up trading a 24th overall pick as opposed to a 10th. The Bulls, I remember when I was talking about them and looking at that team, their range of where they could finish is pretty wide, and probably one of the wider ones in the league, just because they're bringing in all these new pieces. Vucevic is still new, so no one knows exactly how it's all going to fit yet. And so the Magic are sitting on these picks that, you know, are going to be determined by how the Bulls do, plus their own pick, which, you know, probably looks pretty good. So if you package Gary Harris with either their pick, Chicago's picks, combination of, you know, the assets they have, draft capital, then you're looking at, I mean, that you could probably move some pieces around and get something. I think you go big man, though. I'm not sure which, you know, at this point now it's just predicting which, like, all-stars are just going to, like, will themselves out of some franchise on a long-term deal. But obviously they're not Magic. If there's like a trade demand situation, I don't know if anyone's gonna be like, yeah, send me to fucking Orlando. It'll be way better there than it is here. It's weird because Miami, I guess, gets like everyone wants to live in Miami. I've never been to Orlando, but still Florida. Got Disney. I guess that doesn't interest NBA players as much. But like, how far is it from Miami? A couple hours? Like, you know. It's like, why isn't Orlando like a B grade Miami? And get those guys, because I feel like they're always building through the draft. They're doing these like savvy trades. I don't know, the last like big name free agent to sign there would be like, probably hasn't happened in a while. And I think they know that. Like, they know they have to acquire, you know, assets through trades and build through their system for the most part, and make, you know, smart value free agent decisions. And, you know, a guy like Terrence Ross too, I'd keep an eye on the trade market. He's someone you could pair up with Gary Harris, or someone that like a contender I could see trading for, and just try and develop these guys. You know, I don't think, you know, expectations are low, and so you might as well take advantage of that. At the same time, Orlando fans are probably a little sick of the mediocrity now leading into a rebuild, but you can't, I mean, they're competitive, and did I say? Vucevic was not, they got Aaron Gordon, they traded Aaron Gordon for Gary Harris. He was a part of that in RJ Hampton. Vucevic was fucking, with Al-Farouq Aminu. They got Wendell Carter, okay. Jesus Christ. People probably already left the video by now because I'm a fucking idiot. Yeah, so they got Wendell Carter. That's their big man for the future, presumably. Still not, you know, a ton of size in the front court. I mean, if Jonathan Isaac stays healthy, and then you have Carter. So that's on me. Sorry, I haven't been keeping up on my fucking Orlando. Well, I have. I knew it. I forgot. And I was looking at Gary Harris. That was my big kind of point, really. And no one's going to get to this point, so I really shouldn't even bother continuing to talk. Probably should just start saying the craziest shit ever and just go from there. Orlando Magic are going to be freaking NBA Finals champions. Can you imagine, bro? What? Crazy, dude. Oh, my God. I'll tell you what, the weekend video is probably, I think there's a drop in quality. Maybe not, actually. I think it's just like no one watches them because I post them at like noon on a Saturday. I don't know how many people are just fucking on YouTube Googling like Orlando Magic and then most recent videos. Oh, here's this fucker in the car. Let's see what this guy has to say about my team. Probably very insightful. He can't even remember the fucking trades. It's all the same. Like, on the out, Vucevic, Aaron Gordon. In arrivals, you know, you have your departures, arrivals, like an airplane, like airport display thing. So Vucevic, Gordon out. Gary Harris, RJ Hampton, Wendell Carter are in. And Al-Farouq Aminu is also out, who they swapped for DeRozan, which is kind of wild when you think about it. Because the Magic maybe could have gotten DeRozan if you paired Aminu with like Gary Harris and a pick or whatever. Why would they do that, though? It makes no sense with their timeline, so why even bother thinking about it? What a mess. It's because freaking Orlando. Yeah, this is a team, you know, they have a chance to kind of form an identity, you know, after these picks. I think always kind of been defensive. Also B-grade Miami in that regard. You know, Orlando's had a lot of those like 98, 91 games, like 105, 94, like low hundreds, mid 90s type vibe. I look for them to continue that same kind of thing. There's not a lot of elite scoring going on this roster. We'll see how the rookies do from a scoring standpoint. See if Cole Anthony can increase production on the offensive end. See Jonathan Isaac, what he can do. I mean, there's a lot of question marks. Frick. Jeez. Okay. There's a lot of question marks. And it's just a matter of kind of figuring out where we're going here with Orlando and try and form some kind of sense of chemistry, a fit. Maybe they make a big move come the deadline. Again, I out on Gary Harris, Terrence Ross. They don't exactly fit the timeline, and I think that money could be good, could work out for them. So let's get free agents in Orlando. Fuck it. Why? I'd move to Orlando for $10 million a year. What's wrong with that? Especially in the winter during the season. Go to Orlando. Like, why not? Go to Disney. I've never been to Disney. Something about like people in costumes just like freaks me out, that there's like a guy in there and he's like touching kids. Not like, touching kids, although some of them I feel like probably have, but touching kids, just like arms around their shoulders, fucking palming their heads, picking them up, throwing them across the freaking theme park. Not really, but again, Orlando should be a good, like Shaq left, Dwight left. What is wrong with Orlando? Is it the city? Is it the Stan Van Gundy who's probably the problem with Dwight? I don't know. We can speculate about that. But excited to see this team. I think, under the radar as per usual. Excited to see the fit, see some of these young guys. They got the kind of a steal in Jalen Suggs. I know Scotty Barnes. Everyone had Jalen Suggs slot in Toronto to replace Kyle Lowry, and then it was like, nope, they want Scotty Barnes. So I don't even think considered Jalen Suggs would fall in Orlando. A lot of people thought they'd take Scotty Barnes as another like athletic guy with some length, arms wise, and it didn't happen. So we'll see how it works with Suggs. My gut reaction was that Toronto's gonna regret not taking Suggs, but he's kind of a plug and play kind of guy. I think he's gonna be solid. Orlando might win more games than we think. Obviously, we don't think they're gonna win a lot, but I could see them winning like 5 more than you'd think. How about that? Slot that in. That's my hot take, big prediction. And that's it. That's all I got. So you guys take it easy, take care of yourselves on this fine weekend, and I'll see you next time.